Hello, everybody. Welcome to my podcast. Today, I'm really excited. I will be talking to Caleb Jones of Black Dragon. Some of you have reached out to me and asked me to reach out to Caleb, and I talked to one of my mentors, so Alex, playing with fire, and he told me that Caleb is really intelligent. So I started looking into Caleb's work, and I was actually quite uh, curious about your work because honestly, I feel like I'm on my way to becoming somewhat like you. So I felt like what better way than to have you on and ask you a few questions. So thank you very much for coming on. How are you doing, dude?
I'm very good. How are you?
I'm doing great. So yeah, would you like to introduce yourself? I'm sure most people who subscribe to me probably know who you are, but would you like to describe who you are, what you do, and stuff like that?
Sure. My name is Caleb Jones. I'm a business owner. I have three companies, and most of my income over the past 25 years has been as a business consultant. But the company you're probably most familiar with is Alpha Male 2.0, which is an outgrowth of Black Dragon, which I started back in 2009 professionally. And in that company, I have another company called Sovereign CEO. We talk about location-dependent income, international lifestyle. I'm actually in Paraguay right now. But in Alpha Male 2.0 / Black Dragon, I talk about a few things: how men can live free, specifically in terms of relationships, how men can date multiple women all at the same time without any lying or cheating or drama, and do this long term, not just a year or two, but for many, 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 many years. And I provide specific structures that have been field tested by thousands of men all over the world on how to do that. Been talking about that since that specific aspect since, let's see, 2009, 10. So what's the math on that? About 13, 14 years now. So that's me in a nutshell. I do a lot, though. I work a lot.
You're making me feel like I'm getting old as well, like I was I was just in high school, I swear. Um,
Hey, I feel like that too. And I was in high school in the 80s. So there you go. It never goes away.
Yeah. I guess one thing I was curious to know more about was it's something I don't think you've talked much about in your channel. At least I haven't seen much on it.
Mhm.
Did you start in the pickup artist stuff as well?
I did. So in that business, I got started in around, let's see, I started around 2008 in the pickup artist world. I was the second generation of pickup artists. So the first generation was like Mystery and Neil Strauss and those guys, Tyler, those guys. And I was in the second generation right after that, starting around 2008, 2009, 2010. And yeah, I mean, if you want me to talk about that, I can. I can just go, and if I'm boring, just interrupt me. Or if I'm not going to talk about what you want to talk about. So the way that got started was I was on a forum, which was back then, the big pickup artist forum, the one that Mystery and Neil Strauss all started and started. It was called fastseduction.com. That's where all the big pickup artists hung out for a long, long time. And my name on that forum was Black Dragon, just the name I pulled out of my ass because it was a cool Dungeons and Dragons monster that I liked when I was a kid. I said, well, I got to have some kind of cool name. Black Dragon. Okay. I gave it no thought. I should have, but I didn't. And I started talking about online dating, specifically online dating. Here are my three topics, and they still are. Online dating, and this is back in 2008 when online dating was a brand new cutting edge thing. Very few guys were doing it back then. I was one of the few guys talking about it. Online dating, dating multiple women all at the same time without cheating, no drama, no problems. And then older men dating younger women, because I was already 35 at the time. I was one of the older pickup artists. And on that forum, the forum was custom made. It had a ranking system where you could go at any time and click the list of all the people on the forum who contributed posts, and it would sort them by how high rated those posts were. So out of 40, there were 40,000 registered users of that forum. Out of 40,000 people, you could see the number one rated guy, the number two rated guy, the number three in terms of how helpful their posts were. And one day I just clicked and checked, and I was like number 8. I went, whoa, number 8 out of 40,000 people. And then I got to number 5, and then I got to 3, and I got to 2. I never got to 1. I got to 2, and I went, okay, there's a need for this information, and there's a business here. I'm a businessman. So that's when I started Black Dragon as a company back in 2009 or so, and sold ebooks and a few simple coaching services. And my goal back then was literally, this was my goal, because I was already making 6 figures a year as a business consultant in other companies. My goal was to make I think the number was $300 a month selling ebooks to pay for all the first dates I was going on at the time, first and second, third dates, because I was dating hardcore back then. And that was literally my objective. And within the first month, I made like $1,500. I went, oh shit. And then it went back down. I had to make $50 a month. But that soon became profitable enough where it was paying my bills, paying my house payment, paying my utilities. Like, oh, okay, this is a real company now. So I started putting more and more time and effort into it. And it became Alpha Male 2.0 in 2014. And since then, it's grown and it's done very well. And it's helped a lot of people, as far as I could tell. But that's how I got
Yeah,
started.
it's really cool. Yeah. You know, my story was a bit different. Like, so I was a bit later. Uh, I've shared this on my channel before, but basically what happened was that I was 16 years old. I had like one girl rejected me, and I felt like super sad about it. It was really dumb now that I think about it, but I was in my room, I was like crying, which makes no sense why I cried because one girl rejected me.
Well, that's
But
typical. That's most guys. That's normal.
yeah, yeah. Uh, I don't know. I felt like fuck. I suck with girls, so I just went on YouTube and looked up how to pick up girls or how to get girls, something like that.
Mhm.
And simple pickup. I don't know if you know who they are.
Yeah, I've heard that name. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, simple pickup videos showed up, and I just binge watched everything. But I sucked for years. Not even like maybe 5 years. I just was trash. Not five, maybe 4 years or something. But like I was just complete trash. Before one day, like I think I talked to Austin Summers as like a dating coach, and he fixed a bunch of stuff that I was doing, and then like I just started seeing results. And from then on, my life has, in a lot of ways, my dating life has changed basically 180. From
How old
being
are
a
you now?
virgin
How
to
old are
now.
you?
I'm 26.
26. Oh, you're still young. Well, good. You got it fixed early. It's great. I was
Yes.
very bad too when I was your age. I was awful. So I relate. I was terrible, terrible, terrible for many years as a young man. I think, again, that's the norm.
One thing that I don't know where you stand on this. So, well, so when I think of pickup, I was thinking of like day game, night game. But
Yeah.
I'll explain with why introduced me to online dating. And I feel now that I still day game once a week or twice a week, but online dating has become my main thing. Uh, when it comes to efficiency, if you had to judge on night game, day game, and online dating, would you agree with me that online dating might be way easier, or would you have a different opinion?
It is not way easier. Online dating is not way easier than day game anymore. Now, it used to be a long time ago. Before I got into it, like in 2006, it was very easy, but that's a long time ago. Now it's saturated. So it's not easier, but yes, it is more time management efficient. So there are four types of game. If you take all different ways you can meet a woman, there's only four. Women who are not, you're not paying for it, not like hookers. There's only four. There's night game, day game, online dating, and social circle game. And every other form of game you could think of falls under one of those categories. So the question then is, well, what's the best one? Well, there is no best one because they all work. They all work really well. It depends on you, your work, your schedule, your age, what you want in life. So if you're a guy, I'm 51. Are most 51-year-old guys going to do night game? Are they going to go to clubs and hang out the club until 2 a.m. on a Tuesday night? No, they got to work the next morning. So they're not going to do that. They might have kids. So that's not going to work. But a guy your age would be all over night game, and that's great. So all four of these game types work as long as you execute them effectively. They all work, but they all have pros and cons. So the disadvantage of night game is you have to do it at night, and usually have to stay up late, and usually alcohol is involved, not always. So that's a disadvantage. The advantage is you see exactly what you're getting, and the ASD is lower with women because they're already at the club. So a lot of advantages. Same thing with day game, online. So online dating, the disadvantage is you got to really put in the numbers, and you got to go through the saturation of it, which is a challenge. The other challenge with that is that, and I've been doing online dating for 15 plus years, you can't see the entire woman, which is why I'm jealous of some day game guys. So you got to kind of hope you see her from here up, or maybe a little lower, and you just hope and pray when you meet her on the first date. And usually it's okay, but sometimes it's not. But the advantage of online dating is that it's very time management effective. You can do it whenever you want. You can set your own schedule. You don't have to do it at certain times like day game and night game, and even social circle game, to a degree. These things you have to do at certain times. Whereas if you're a busy person, I run 3 companies, I travel the world, I'm kind of busy. I have 2 kids, I'm an old man, I got a lot going on. It's better for guys like me because it's more time management efficient. So it is more time management efficient in terms of day, because I did day game briefly. I never did night game. Day game briefly, and I made it work. I got laid. This is a long time ago, but I'm like, my God, this is time consuming. I'm too busy for this. So that's why I rolled to online dating. So it's not easier, but it is more time management efficient. That is true. That is one of its strengths.
When there's something you brought up that I guess you brought in one of your videos that we reviewed before on my
Mhm.
channel. You when you were talking about, so there's a video on pickup and dating skills. You mentioned that of some pickup skills worked and some pickup skills didn't work. I was
Yes.
curious to know if you could just give some examples specifically of what worked and what did not work.
Sure. A few that worked. All the ones about how to present yourself. So really great thing about PUA, pickup artist stuff, is they really focus, they don't focus, but they talk a lot about you got to look good because most guys look like shit. And so you got to take care of your hair. You got to dress kind of cool. You have to understand that there are certain cuts and fits of clothing that make you look better or worse. There are certain colors of clothing that make you look better or worse. There are certain styles of clothing based on your age and things like that. And so that helped a lot because I was like most guys. I got started this world when I was 35. I was a divorced beta male dad. I didn't know how to dress. I have no idea. The only guys that know how to dress are usually gay guys or metrosexual guys. They know, but every guy we don't know how to dress. So a lot of the techniques that work were how to present. Grooming. If you have facial hair, I learned this with PUA. Have it there for a reason. It doesn't just grow because you're lazy, which is what guys do now. They have these big old beards. They look terrible. There are guys with beards who look awesome, and there are guys who look like shit because you take care of it. Neil Strauss, way back in the day, used to say, "Shave the back of your neck." I went, "Oh yeah," because women notice. Men don't notice. We don't care at all. I shave the back of my neck every day now. It's just a habit I've had for 15 years now. So that's one of the things that worked is how to present and how to avoid things like ASD and LMR and all the other PUA terms. So those worked. What didn't work? Well, a few things didn't work. Back in the day where I did this, so 2007, 8, 9, 10, 11, when I was hardcore at this stuff, most of the advice that pickup artists were giving, and this is kind of true today, but not as true, but it's still a little true, was based around a day game / night game model, specifically night game. So what pickup artists used to teach, not as much anymore, but they still do, is go for the makeout or go for the digits, go for the close, go for the contact close, go for the kiss close. And so when I did that on first dates, I was able to do it, but then I never see the girl again. So I determined through my trial and error and A/B split testing, I track this in spreadsheets. This is one of my pieces of advice now, is if you're doing date game where it's a scenario where you're going out on a date or a meet, like through online dating, or if it's a day 2 through day game, you don't kiss her. You can keno her and you should. You should have a sexual frame, but don't kiss. And when I stopped kissing on the first meet and focused hooking up on the second meet, my results skyrocketed. It like quadrupled. I'm like, oh my God. But I was told the whole time by pickup artists, go for the kiss, go for the makeout, get her, kiss her, kiss her, kiss her, kiss her, kiss her. That advice probably works great at the club at 1:30 a.m. in the morning on Friday night when everyone's drunk and partying, having a great time, and you got to isolate her later. That probably works well. But on an online dating system where you're meeting up at a Starbucks or something, or a bar or something like that, and she's only got an hour because she got to get home or whatever, that's not going to work at all. You don't want to kiss. That'll actually raise ASD and raise LMR. So those are two examples.
Okay. And now we'll get to the main part of this video, the part I wanted to, discuss with you a bit more in detail, which is something that almost no one in the pickup space ever talks about, relationships.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Basically, no one in the pickup space ever give relationships advice
That's the
ever.
big problem with PUA. I love PUA. It's helped me out a lot, but that's the big problem is they do not focus on relationships. Once you get to sex, their advice is kind of over with. And if they have relationship advice, it's awful. Yes.
Yep. It's well, because I've talked to lots. So I'm a liberal guy politically, so I get to talk to lots of like people in the liberal spaces. And whenever they talk about pickup, it's the one thing all of them bring up. Why does no like they all of them call themselves dating coaches, but there's never any relationship advice in there. And
Correct.
I never have a good answer for that.
I have a good answer for it. I know this very well. So, and I know a lot of big game pickup guys. I was friends with them a long time ago, or still am. These are guys who are mostly, for the most part, under the age of 35. And when you're a man under the age of 35, generally speaking, and you're in this space, if you're a beta male, not quite. If you're a total simp, this is different. But if you're in this space and you're under 35, are you really focused on getting married and having kids and getting a girlfriend? Not really. You're focused on getting laid. So they just focus on that and focus on that and focus on that and bang 100 girls and have a great time. And they don't really pay attention to that stuff until they themselves hit 35. And then they go through these transformations. So it's just the frame that they're coming from in terms of where they are in their lives. Younger guys tend not to worry about marrying, As a matter of fact, in my audience, it still happens. You'll have guys who are over 35 who want to talk about like non-monogamous marriage and OLTRs and girlfriends. And then the guys who are 26 saying, why the fuck are you talking about this? This is stupid. Right. Stupid for you. I agree. And I've even said, by the way, I don't disagree with this. I've said to guys under 30, you shouldn't have a girlfriend at all. That's a terrible idea. If you're under 30, once you're 30, fine, go ahead, as long as you're very careful. But that's why PUA focuses on getting laid and not focusing at all on relationships. And I've had a lot of friends and or acquaintances who are big name PUA guys. I could list 5 or 6 names right now. I won't. Who were really good at getting laid. And as soon as they started relationships, they had all the same problems that the beta males and AFCs had. It was a nightmare because they had no relationship skill sets. 2 different sets of skills. Getting laid and relationship management are 2 different skill sets. There are some similarities in frames, but the techniques are very, very different, which is why the guys who are really good at getting laid are often terrible at relationships. Yeah.
Yeah, there's something funny. Like, so in general, I don't make fun of people's looks, but I know that Alex playing with fire, he has a joke about dating coaches who get married and the quality of the women they marry. Again, I don't endorse
Yeah.
making fun of people's looks,
I
but
understand.
it is an interesting observation that Alex made that once he made it, I looked into it myself and I was kind of shocked, to be honest, to see like, you know, I don't know if you've made that observation as well.
I have made that observation. I have noticed that. I've never brought it up, but you're right. I have seen that. There's a few reasons for that. I can speculate. A lot of these guys, like guys who come out of like the Roosh V type world, have this thing in the back of their head where, well, you have guys who don't know how to track really hot girls. They know how to get laid, but they're all kind of 5s, 6s, and 7s. There's a chunk of those guys on the internet. So that's one explanation. Another explanation is there is a thought process among many guys where if you want to get laid, she should be as hot as possible. But if you marry her, she shouldn't be very hot because then she won't be a good mother, see? And then she'll cheat on you with your brother because she's hot. And then all these guys will be staring at her. You don't want that. So you don't want to marry a 10. You want to bang 8s and 9s and 10s, but you want to marry a 6 or a 7 at the most. So there's that in the back of a lot of guys' heads where that is insane. My wife looks like a Playboy Playmate. So I think that's ridiculous. But those are 2 possible explanations. But yes, I have noticed this. Yes.
Now we'll get to the main part that I wanted to, I guess, ask you a few questions about. Firstly, how did you move from the pickup phase into setting up in coming up with the concept of, I guess, the ethical non-monogamy, or I don't know what you would call it, like, the different types of non-monogamous relationships you got into? What was your history into that?
I never converted into it. It was always part of my model from day one. And the reason for that is, I'd like to say it's because I'm really smart. It wasn't at all because of that. It was because, unlike most guys in the pickup artist world, I came into the world already over 35. I think it was 36. So I was already in the mode of, I was right out of a divorce. And I said, okay, I'm going to get laid and have fun. But I understand myself, and I understand I'm not going to want to do this forever. So I need to build models in place where I can keep women around for a long time. And eventually, if I want to settle down with a woman the correct way, in a non-monogamous way where my finances are protected. A. B, doing a bunch of one-night stands is a lot more fucking work. It's a lot less work to have a recurring harem or group of women you see over and over again who are all hot, or at least all attractive to you. So if you have a woman and you start seeing on a regular basis, that's almost like an investment. If you don't do that, if you just have 1 or 2 night stands forever, as soon as the one night stand is over, you have got to go back out there and go get more women. And that takes time and effort and work. And if you like that kind of thing at this point, then great, go ahead and do that. But I didn't. I said, all right, I want to get enough women where I have women on rotation, a group, what I call a roster of women who I can rely upon long term, so I don't have to go on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 first dates, second dates a week. I got better things to do. I'm busy. So it was always like that. It was from day one of all my materials. It was, under my models, you get laid to bring new women into your roster, into your permanent sex life. Permanent is not literal, but as long as possible, many, many years. So my thing has always been, and I've said this for 15 years, my plan from the very first moment of the first date, unless she's a total bitch or she's very ugly because she lied on her photos, those two exceptions, but those are rare. My plan from the very first moment of the first date is I'm going to be having sex with this woman off and on for the rest of her life. And that my entire frame is set for that from the very first moment of the first meet. It's not like I'm going to bang this chick. Oh, now I like her. So how do I convert this relationship into a relationship? No, that's not my frame at all. The relationship begins in the very first moment of the first date for me.
When okay, something I was a bit interested to know about you. It's like, so I know you are married, right?
Yeah. Well, my version of married, yes. It's not
I
a
was going to
typical
ask, like,
traditional marriage, but yes.
yeah, I know. Yeah, I guess open marriage.
Mhm.
So I was going to ask, because what's the point of getting married? Like, if you want, I can give you why I don't think marriage is a really good idea. But there's like the basic right. I'm not red pill, but the red pill argument against marriage, I think, is good, even
Yeah,
though I don't
agreed.
agree with all this red pill stuff. I
Mhm.
feel like, yeah, outside of the red pill argument, I feel like if you're religious, I see the point because you're like, oh, that's what God wants for you and stuff. But I'm not. I'm guessing you're not either. But um, why get married?
There is no, outside of that, there is no reason to get married. So when I say married, I'm settled down long term with a woman I've made commitments to. That's my definition of marriage. I have a very specific structure for marriage under the Alpha Male 2.0 model called OLTR marriage. And so it means two things. This is how it's different from the typical, what I call TMM, traditional monogamous marriage, which is insanity. And there's no reason you ever do that in the modern era. It worked great back in 1952, but we don't live in 1952 anymore. The two differences are this. One is it's wide open sexually. I can have sex with other women literally whenever I want, and I do every week. And it's allowed. My wife knows I'm doing it. We have a shared Google Calendar, and I put in the calendar, it says FB, means Friends with Benefits. And she actually can see when I do it. I do it as a courtesy to her. I don't have to. So that's number one. So that way, my wife doesn't have control over my sex life. The problem with traditional marriage is you want to have sex, and she says, no. Well, then what are your options? You can't make her, and she should have every right to say no to you. She's her own individual. So either you go jerk off the porn like a pussy. Well, then why'd you get married, you dumbass? Or you cheat, which means you're going to get caught because men are terrible at cheating and not getting caught. You're going to get caught. Then she's going to find out and you have an explosion. You maybe get divorced. Sucks. So you don't have that problem in my form of marriage. That's the first difference. Second difference is financial. There's a financial barrier. There is an international, legal, logistical, and financial barrier between my money and her money. So if, for God forbid, we ever get divorced, she literally doesn't get a penny of my money, literally, unless I choose to give it to her, which is the way divorce is supposed to work. I would pay about $190 in filing fees if we got divorced, and that's it. And I have a decent amount of money. So I am now 100% protected from being divorce raped or screwed into divorce. And unlike my first marriage, when I was young and stupid, and I had a traditional marriage, my wife can't say, well, I'm going to divorce you and take half your stuff unless you do X, Y, and Z. She can't do that. So she can't control my dick, my sex life. She can't control my money. So now she can't control me. So now we don't have all the problems and arguments and limitations that normal married guys have. And to the answer to your question, there is no point in getting legally married, especially if it's traditionally monogamous. It's insane. Other than you're right, if you're very religious, and I have my own opinions about that, because that religious people get divorced just as much as atheists do in the Western world. So that's not going to help you either. But yes, there is no reason to do it under the traditional model. Now, here's the flip side of that. And this is what a lot of red pill guys don't understand, a lot of pickup artists don't understand. Why ever get married? I'm never getting married. Yeah, you are. At some point, statistically, I don't care how red pill you think you are, at some point in your life, not in your 20s, probably not in your early 30s, but once you're hit over 35, late 30s, 40s, 50s, somewhere in there, you're going to want to settle down with a woman. The odds are like 95, 97 plus percent. It's going to happen. So what you need is some kind of model to follow when you do that. Because if you don't have a model like mine, what are you going to do in your 30s, 40s, 50s? You're going to get traditionally married because you're going to get one-itis from some girl and she's going to stamp her little foot and say, I want to get married. You're going to go, okay. And now you're traditionally monogamous being married. Now she owns half your wallet. and now you're gonna have all the same problems. So you also don't want to say, oh, I'll just never get married, never move with a woman. The vast majority of men at some point later in their life are going to want to do this, including red pill guys, including pickup artists. Just about all the pickup artist gurus from the past 20 years are either now married or they were married and got divorced already because it didn't work. That should tell you something. So you do need a model for living with a woman. Don't get legally married. Don't do that. Okay. But you need a model for living with a woman, or else you're going to be in big trouble later.
Yeah, it reminds me of like a funny story. You know, I brought up simple pickup, and not many people know this, but the big reasons for why simple pickup broke up at the end was because the two members that remained, one of them was dating a girl he met while filming Infield. What people don't know was that they started having some issues between them, the girl and that girl ended up dating the other guy of simple pickup. So these guys who are pickup experts
Really?
had beef over a girl, and like, and now that girl is dating the other dude,
Yeah,
and
this
the,
is very
the whole
normal. Yeah,
it's
that's
like
very normal.
you,
Yeah, when men do not know how to structure their relationships for long-term consistent happiness. They don't know how to do it. All they do is they follow their ego and their feelings, and then maybe they look at the Bible and a few other things. They go, "Well, I guess I got to do this," and they don't. And then their only advice beyond that, the big red pill long-term relationship, is be alpha. Well, just be alpha. Be alpha. Here's the two pieces of a red pill advice if you want to get married. Be alpha. What the fuck does that mean? And how is that going to prevent you from getting divorced? Alpha males get divorced all the fucking time. Number one. Number two, marry an 18-year-old virgin who hasn't fucked too many guys or a virgin. Then you're good to go. Virgins who, I just did a podcast for my own audience a few hours ago. Virgins who get married, get divorced in the Western world just as much as non-virgins. There's not a radical difference in the statistical. There's a small statistical difference, but the divorce rate is still sky high. And I've personally seen this. I've seen guys marry or move in 18, 19-year-old virgins, and within 3, 4, 5 years, the girls dump them. It's the same. Virgins are still women, and they still live in the Western world. So anyway, I'm not sure where we're going with that. But yes, what you're describing is not unusual. I mean, I love Neil Strauss. I think he's a smart guy. I think I probably wouldn't be here if it weren't for Neil. So I have a lot of respect for Neil. But if you read his books, I've read most of them, when he talks about his relationships, it's difficult to read what he's going through, because it's the same stuff that an extreme beta male would go through, and he's not. And he's not the only example. You've got guys like, I talk about a little bit, like Scott Adams, who I used to really like. And he wrote articles. He got divorced many years ago, and he wrote articles about how traditional marriages work. It's the dumbest model. You can't control your time. You're designed to be unhappy. And then, a few years ago, he turns right around and gets married again to some hot young cutie. And then he's married about a year and a half. He gets divorced again when he knew better. So everything you're talking about is not unusual. It is the default for men to fuck up their relationships, unfortunately.
yeah. I will get to when it comes to your style of I guess the type of relationships you hold. I think you and I we have different styles, but who knows when I'll be your age, maybe I'll be just like you. I'm just going through a different phase. I am no longer really convinced that open relationships might work. I feel like friends with benefits are probably the only version that I do, and the only version that at least as of now that I recommend, just because that's what I know.
Mhm.
Um, what I notice in open relationships is that, and yeah, it's what I've seen other couples go through the same thing. If you're a guy like us who just have like higher sex drives, we will keep fucking a lot of girls, but the girl we are emotionally connected with is not gonna have that kind of like sex life.
Correct.
And that's gonna build some resentment with her feeling like you're going around while I'm not, it's kind of not fair. It's gonna build up that like tension between you two. Have you experienced that, or do you think this is reasonable concerns you have about open relationships and stuff?
Have I experienced that exact problem where there's some resentment or some discomfort? Yes, that is normal and typical, but that's manageable. So you have to look at what is long-term manageable. Is it long-term manageable for you to look at a woman in her face and say, I'm never going to touch on a woman ever again for the next 57 years because I'm a good Christian or whatever? No, that's not manageable. You're lying. You're lying, or you're stupid. In a few years, you're going to change your mind. Go, no, no, no. And also to expect her in many cases, depending on the woman, for her to be 100% sexually monogamous. Women cheat too. They're just better at getting away with it. Or this little nagging thing about, I wish he wouldn't do that. Now, if it's like, oh my God, I can't stand this, the relationship's not going to work. So in my models, you have 3 levels. You have FB, NLTR, OLTR. And so by the OLTR is like your girlfriend or your wife. Like my wife is an OLTR or your girlfriend. She's already gone through a qualification process where she's not like, oh my God, this drives me nuts. Well, that's not long-term compatible for you. She can be an FB, friend with benefits, like you said, and that's fine. But she may still have this, I wish she wouldn't do that. That's manageable. I've been with my wife, I think we're going to 9 years now. And we're still fine. The way you manage that is that 2 things. One is you make sure to keep attraction very high, which is what men lose as soon as they usually move in with a woman. They start taking her for granted. They start not worrying about the relationship. They start gaining weight. They dress like shit around the house. They start burping and farting around the house, that kind of stuff. They stop giving a shit about these things, so her attraction drops. Number 1. Number 2, you have to maintain a new set of relationship structures that maintain harmony in the relationship. Men don't do that. They just move in and try to figure it out. And then they have arguments and problems and all these things. So if you're having a high level of attraction from your wife or girlfriend she still likes you. My wife is still very attracted to me after 8+ years. And you have models in place that you're doing on a regular basis that make her happy and make you happy, then she can have a few things about you that she hates and she'll stick around anyway. Women do this all the time. Matter of fact, in the 1950s, that's what women did. They hated their husband. They stuck around anyway. So they can do this. By the way, this is true in monogamous relationships. I've said this many times. Whenever you get into a serious relationship with a woman, girlfriend or wife, it doesn't matter. There will be, at best, if you're lucky, 10% of things about her you're going to hate. No woman is 100% perfect for you. That's a fantasy. She may be great in every other way, but there will be 10% of things like, oh, fuck, I wish you didn't do that. And her with you. There will be at least 10%, sometimes more, but at least 10% of things she's not going to like about you. So the objective then is not to make that 0. That's not possible. Instead, what you do is you make the only thing in that 10% the fact you're hooking up with other women. And of that, you are very attractive to her. You're a fantastic husband or boyfriend. I've written entire books on how to be openmarriage.com, on how to have a non-monogamous long-term marriage. You have to be a really good husband. You have to be a really good boyfriend. You make her orgasm every time you have sex. You do all the things that make that work. And you do them forever. You never get complacent on them. Then it can work. Now, does that mean you'll never get any complaining? No. She's a girl. She's going to complain occasionally about something, even if you're 100% monogamous. So the objective is not to eliminate all complaining and all resentment and all negative feelings. The objective is to get it down to 10%, have it just be that one thing that you're non-monogamous. And then it could work.
Yeah, it's something I have to think about. Like, I had like a debate a while back with Alex on this. I think I don't know. I was going for kind of my rebellious phase, so I don't know if I still believe it fully. I haven't thought about it. When you are in a relationship with a girl, do you feel like you're in love with her, or is it purely transactional?
Well, I've dated many women. The vast majority were not. It wasn't transactional or love. It was one level. So again, I have 3 levels: FB, NLTR, OLTR. For FBs, there's no love, but I like them. I have many FBs. I have a lot here in Paraguay. I got FBs all over the world. I like them a lot as friends. Friends with benefits. That means friends. So I like them, but I don't want to marry these women or date these women and things like that. MLTRs are women you're dating and you really like. And you may or may not love one of them. You might not, usually not. I usually don't, but I'm a more rational, less emotional guy. And OLTR, you are in love with her. So it depends on the guy. For me, it takes me this is me now. Not all men are like this. It takes me a long, long time for me to fall in love with a woman. It may take me several years. I've only been in love. I've been a lot of women in my life. I've been in love, I think, 4 times in my whole life, and I'm 51. I've been through a lot. So it's not a typical thing for me. And in all those cases, it took me years to fall. It took me years to fall in love with my wife. She was an FB for a year. And then we didn't really see each other for about a year. We were just kind of distant friends. And then she was an MLTR. We did it for like 6, 7, 8 months. Then she was an OLTR. Then I started to fall in love with her. So, but that's how I am. Other guys are different. Some guys are more emotional and fall in love faster. It's fine as long as you manage the relationship correctly. You don't get one item.
Yeah,
That's the problem.
that's the thing. That's what my argument with Alex was about. We never like reached an agreement. He was saying that there's a thing that's like falling in love with someone and sharing an emotional bond, Well, I don't even really believe that now. Maybe I do. I'm not sure yet. I feel like when people talk about love, in my opinion, I get the impression it's just one-itis. It's just like it's easy pussy. You're getting a girl all the time next to you. You have an
Um,
emotional bond, which is
yeah.
valid, but it's like I don't know if it's any different by being friends with someone, you know?
So you're right. In most cases, again, particularly with younger men, which means men under 35, men, when they say they're in love, they just have one itis. You're right. There is a difference between one itis and love. So you're usually you're right. Now there are some men who can be in love and when they're in the 35, that happens. But yes, most guys, especially guys today, guys are such pussies today. They fall in love on the second date. That's not love. That's one-itis / lust and neediness. That's not love. The fact that I take a long time to fall in love shows me that it's love. So you're
Yeah,
safer
that's
when you're
valid.
like me.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe one day I'll experience love and all that. All that
Yeah, and I
stuff.
would say to you, you're 26. I would say, don't worry about love at all. You're fine.
Yeah.
You shouldn't even be thinking about love until you're at least 30, ideally 35. You got shit to do. You got businesses to create. You have a financial life to build. You have an empire to build. That's what you should be focused on in your 20s. And yes, get laid. FBs is great. FBs are great. They're great for
Yeah.
guys in 20s. That's awesome. Yeah, it's fine. You're in no rush. So you're fine. If you're like, I don't believe this love stuff, that makes me happy to hear that from a guy who's 26. If you're like, I'm so in love, if you were 26 right now and you were telling me the opposite, I'm so in love with my girlfriend right now. Oh my God, I love her. I'd be like, oh my fucking God. No. Now I can
Like,
say that about my wife. I'm 51. I've had sex with a lot of women. We've been together for 8, 9 years. It makes more sense coming out of my mouth where I am. So, like you said earlier, it's about where you are in life.
I had a yeah, for me, I guess well, I get to my second next question. It relates to this. So, you made an argument in one of your videos that yeah, so you talk about how like women don't have the same sex drive as men, so that's why like men tend to be more like thrill seeking, like trying to get laid a lot more than women. But don't you think that's more like men like you and me who are like or like more pickup men who have like that higher sex drive who are always like focused on getting pussy? That maybe men like us might have higher sex drive as opposed to the average dude who probably just has other concerns in life, you know, who's like satisfied with having one girl just getting laid with her. The same way most girls would probably be satisfied with like a regular sex drive. Don't you think we're just like exceptional in that way?
Yes, I don't think men have higher sex drives than women. I think men are horny more often than women. So here's the difference between men and women. Men are horny all the time. Now, if you're a higher sex drive guy, you're horny up here. If you're a lower sex drive guy or an average guy, you're horny down here. But you're always horny. You're never not horny. You can be in the middle of work and some hot chick will say, let's have sex. You'll be like, okay. Because we're guys. That's how we're wired. That's fine. So men are always horny. Women are not like this. Women are the opposite. Women are horny when they're horny. So sometimes they're really horny, sometimes not horny at all. And they had a bad day at work. Then later they're really horny, and then they're really horny for a while, and then they're back to kind of normal, and then they're focused on their kid or they're stressed out and they're not horny. And they bounce around like this, whereas men are always like this. That's the difference between men and women. In terms of men, yeah, there's about 4 or 5 different levels. I've written articles about this on male sex drive. There are high sex drive guys, there are mid sex drive guys, low sex drive guys. And you're right. We live in an era now where most men are low testosterone, beta male pussies. And those guys, they're horny all the time, but they're kind of horny down here. They don't need to have sex several times a week. I mean, I need to have sex about 3 times a week for maximum happiness for me. But they don't need sex 3 times a week. Now they're still horny all the time. They'll jerk off every day. Sure. But sometimes these guys even hear 3 times a week, go, oh my God, I don't know that much. Great. That's fine. So you're right. It's a difference in how the horniness structure, I don't know the word for it. Horniness structure versus sex drive. Those are 2 different things.
When it comes to okay, so when we agree with the I guess the degree of horniness, when it comes to whether women okay, I'm just trying to phrase it right.
Mhm.
When it comes to whether women have higher sex drives or not higher sex at one point then goes down and then like you know like this while men is just like this, don't
Right.
you think it's because in a lot of ways for a guy to get pussy is a lot of work, but for a girl to get dicks it's kind of overwhelmingly easy. Just
Yep,
so many options thrown at them all the time, but most options are terrible. So it's like
absolutely.
because I wonder if celebrities, male celebrities who get
Mhm.
like their DMs filled with women all the time, if
Yeah.
they might feel the same way, if they might be just like those women, you know?
No, they don't feel the same way. I've worked with celebrities. No, they're just as horny. They'll just say, all right. They just, like women, they get really selective. They start getting most of these guys. So if you're a girl and you have, sex offered to you every day, what are you going to do? You're not going to like try to get laid. Don't need to try. Women don't need to try to get laid, including fat, ugly girls. Guys hit on fat, ugly girls all day long. So it's not that. Instead, you start getting picky. You're saying, okay, I have all these people want to have sex with me, so now I can be selective. I want this kind of person, or else I'm going to say no. So that's usually how male celebrities and guys that level do is I'm not a celebrity, but I'm at the level now where I can be, and I have been very picky. I'm really picky today. I'm way more picky now than I ever was 10 years ago when I was doing pretty well. So it's similar on a smaller level. I'm operating on the smaller level at this. But so no, but it's not like, oh, I don't need to have sex now. I got all these women to fuck me, so I don't need to have sex. No, these guys still have sex. They're just picky about it. And they're very selective.
So there's something, I guess, inherent to being men and women that make women not as horny as men. At least not the same way, just like in a different
Well,
way
not
of
it's not
horniness.
again, it's not as horny. It's horny at different times, different horniness patterns. The man
Huh.
horniness on a graph looks like this. A woman's horniness looks like this. So it's not less horny. So here's the thing. When women get horny, they're hornier than men. I don't know if you've experienced this. I've experienced it many times. When women are horny, their heads explode. They got to get laid right now. And they get, matter of fact, the horniest women are women in their 40s for various reasons. And so they'll actually get mad at you. When you can't fuck them, they get mad and they start yelling and giving you drama. So when women get horny, they spike up. They're hornier than men. And the reason is we're horny all the time, so we're used to it. It's a feeling we're accustomed to. Whereas women aren't accustomed to being horny all the time. They have horny spikes. That's why you have all kinds of women who talk about things like they'll be at work and they get horny and they can't stand it. And they'll run into the bathroom and diddle themselves so they can get back to work. Now, if a man does that, he's probably dysfunctional. But if a woman does that, she's normal. So it's not that women are less horny. They're horny less often.
Yeah, that's a good point. I've never thought of it that way, but yeah, I think you might have changed my mind on this. I have to think about this for
Yeah,
a bit.
women are not less horny at all. They're horny less often. So if you try to have sex with your girlfriend or girl you're dating, she says, no, I don't really want to. Guys think, oh, women are horny. No, she's not horny right now because you happen to get her down here. You wait 2 days and it could be some weird time of day, like 10 a.m. on Tuesday, and then she's gonna be horny as fuck. And the problem with men is you don't know. It's not like we have a thing on an app on our phone saying, okay, the girl I'm dating is really horny right now. You don't know. You have to wait for her to say I'm horny, or you got to keep trying. But men misinterpret that as, oh, women don't want sex as much as us. Oh, bullshit. Yes, they do, just not all the time. Women are horny when they're horny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like mentally, I'm like rethinking my previous stance, but I'll think about it in private later. Maybe I'll just like, I didn't think of it the way you described it.
Yeah, you should
But
always analyze things. Don't take my word for it. But that's what I'm describing is accurate. It's scientifically accurate. Yeah.
yeah, that's a good point. My next question would be like, you know how it's something I don't know if you know who Destiny is. Is like a big
Yeah, I know
liberal
Destiny. I know
streamer.
he does. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like a friend of a channel. I've talked to him a lot of times. This is something he brought up to me once that's been on my mind since. So you brought up how like, like us guys who are more like pickup dudes and stuff or whatever we are now. We are like very like we are horny. We love having sex with women all the time. We love having multiple women.
Right.
But that sex drive, if instead of having sex with multiple women, we just have one girl, but we fucked her a lot of times,
Mhm.
would we still be horny for other women?
Yes. So the way it works is this: there is sexual variety and sexual newness, two different things. And so people mix these two things up. They're similar, but they are different. Sexual variety means, and you have this as a man inherently wired into your biology. You could marry, and some guys think this is well, if I marry the perfect 10, why would I ever want to have sex with a girl? Because you're wired that way. So you could marry your perfect 10. Whatever your perfect 10 is to you, you could marry her or move her in tomorrow, and she's horny as fuck, let's say, and she has sex with you every day. Now, you're going to be really happy for a while. 6 months, a year, 18 months. I don't know what the time frame is. Every guy's different. But eventually, you're going to want to have sex with other women. Now, here's the thing. You're going to want to keep having sex with her. So what women do is they have sex with one guy for a long time, and then they're bored with the guy. They want a new guy. So they dump this guy and move to the new guy. It's serial monogamy, monkey branching. That's how women operate. Men are different. Men want to have sex with girl A a lot. Okay, then they also want to have sex with girl B and girl A. They don't want girl A to leave. This is why non-monogamy works so well with men. So you want to have sex with girl B and girl A. But yes, you will want to have sex with other women. Now, the one thing about that is you can get to the point where you don't need any new women. So if you are having sex, let's say with 3, I'm giving you a random example. You're having sex with 3 women who are all really hot to you, but they all look different. One is blonde, one is brunette, one is Asian, let's say, okay? You're having sex with all 3. You could get to the point where you don't need any new women, but you need to see all 3. You can't just have sex with girl B and not have sex with girl A and C for 6 months. So as long as you're having sex with all of them, because you're getting variety, but you can eliminate the need for newness. You don't need, am I saying that wrong? Hang on a second. I may have misspoke. Let's see. Variety and newness. Right. No, I'm right. Yeah. So you can get to the point where if you have several women who are all different, that would satisfy you. My fantasy that I'll never have, I will never have this. This is impossible. But my sexual fantasy that'll never occur, my Disney fantasy, is that I have one woman, my wife, ideally, who is with me the rest of my life and who stays pretty the rest of her life. She's 43. She's still pretty hot. But the day will come where she will look older. Okay, fine. Then I have another girl who has a different look than my wife, but is still a 10 to me. And I have sex with both of them for the rest of my life. I don't need any other girls. I can focus on my work. That'd be awesome. But it's still not one woman. It's 2. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I need 3 or 4. So that could work in a theoretical model. And the guys don't do this. And this would not work long term because if you have 3 women, one's eventually going to leave and go get married to someone else. She's going to be the main girl. That goes into open relationship dynamics. But in a hypothetical world where you could maintain 3 women, 2, 3, or 4, I don't know what the number is. They're all attractive to you and they stay with you forever and they never get old, they never get fat. That would satisfy you, yes. You would never need any new women. But it's not 1, it's 2, 3, or 4.
Yeah, this is something, and I talked to both Alex and Destiny about it, and they both kind of agree with me. Like, one thing a lot of red pill guys will often say, and more conservative-minded people will say, is that, dude, that whole like hookup phase, you're gonna get out of it soon. You're gonna stop being horny like that. You'll have one girl you'll be happy for the rest of your life with. But Alex told me he's 33 now. He's just as horny. He's not as horny as he was in his 20s, but he's still horny for more. He's always like, he still enjoys having sex with more, even though it's not the same rate. Destiny's told me the same thing. He's still super horny, and I'm pretty sure I'll be just the same in my 30s, and who knows in my 40s,
They're people who say, "Oh, eventually this hookup phase, you won't want to. You'll just need one girl and you'll be fine." That's half right. You will get over, and I've been over this for years. You will get over the horny pickup phase. You will reach a point in your life. I don't know how old you'll be. You'll reach this. All men reach this in this world, where you don't want to bang a bunch of new girls. You don't give a fuck anymore. You want to do other things to your life, but you're still horny. Still need to have sex on a regular basis with ideally 2, 3, or 4 girls you think are hot. But you won't want to keep going out and getting new girls all the time. You'll reach a point where that's like a pain in the ass. Yes. So that the pickup phase, the player phase does end. Yes. And the average age is around 35 for most guys. That does end. Yes. But that doesn't suddenly mean lifetime monogamy will suddenly now work for you. No. You'll still want more than one girl. Now, more than one might mean 2, and that's fine. But it's not going to be 1. So they're half right.
Yeah, that's why like you and I might have a bit of a different perspective on this, but who knows? I'm still young enough, still experiencing things. For me, sex has become kind of like a drug. Like I need a new thing every week. Like, if let's say I'm having sex with a white blonde girl with big tits and a big ass, next week I want an Asian girl with big tits and big ass. The week after that, maybe I want a different ethnicity. Or maybe I want a girl who gives better blowjobs. Or maybe I want a girl who gives something else. mentally I'm always seeking for like this new thing. Uh, have you ever had that experience, or are you like, if let's say you have two girls you're having sex with consistently, that makes you satisfied?
First of all, if you're 26, I wouldn't worry about that. I think that's fine. If you were 46, I'd be like, bro, something's wrong here. But you're 26 and you have this need to experience new things all the time. I think that's perfectly fine. I think you're good. I wouldn't worry about that. I think you're all right. Have I had that? Not exactly, but similar. So I had a mental list of all the sexual fantasies in my head I wanted to experience and all the types of women I wanted to have sex with. And I went through and did all those things purposefully. And it was a lot of different things, a lot of crazy shit. Most of it was many years ago. I've done all of it multiple times, multiple women. So yeah, but like I talked about a minute ago, I don't need to do it anymore. Now, if it's freely offered, if something geeky and exciting and weird is offered to me, I'll probably say yes, but I'm not going to go out and do it because I've already done it. So again, it's the crazy phase. You can get over the crazy phase and you will eventually. That's why I said, if you still wanted this when you're 46, something's wrong. Something's off in your head. But right now, when you're 26, especially if you're relatively new, you've been at this for just a year or two, that's normal. You should do everything. And that's the thing you can get out of your system is the sexual crazy phase. Not having sex with multiple women, you'll always want to do that to some degree or not. But the crazy phase is a perfectly normal, natural phase to go through. I went through that phase after my divorce because I didn't do much in my 20s. I got married really young because I was stupid. So I went through that phase when I was 35, and it took a few years, and I got through all of it, and that was fine. So that's normal, and you will get over it. But that still does not mean that one woman the rest of your life will work. It won't.
There's an experience I've had. I talked to some dating coaches who told me they've had it too. When so I had sex with this girl who was like she had like the ideal body that I love. Like she was like amazing body. We had sex with like it's the best thing ever. But it's thought for me in my head when I was having sex with her, I remembered when I was in high school and I was like struggling with social anxiety and I was like crying about not getting like getting rejected and stuff. And felt like it was like a vindication, like a you know what, like me in high school, I hope I make you proud now or something. I can't even explain. It was like this feeling of satisfaction of knowing that like I overcame this thing that was like
Yeah.
this dream of mine in high school.
Yeah.
I know other dating coaches tell me they get that all the time when they're
Oh,
having sex
yeah.
with a new hot girl. Like I don't know if you ever have that feeling. I don't know what your
Oh,
past was.
hell yeah. Not anymore, but back in the day. Oh, are you kidding? Yeah. That's very healthy. It's one of the benefits of this lifestyle. Yeah. You now live the fantasies you thought you'd never get. Because I totally relate to that. My typical month, I sleep with women who are Instagram models with millions of followers. And that's like normal to me now. There's no way in hell. I've said this before. I've said, even minus that, I said that if I were to talk about, if I were to go back in time to my 25-year-old, 26-year-old version of myself, certainly my teenage version of myself, and I said, Caleb, let me show you what a typical week in your sex life, not some crazy trip to Vegas. This is your typical average boring week. Let me show you some videos of the women you're having sex with. Let me show you how they look. Let me show you who they are. I wouldn't believe me. I'd be like, this is bullshit. Get out of here with that. Yeah, right. I wouldn't believe it. So yeah, it's great. And that's, again, normal and it's very healthy. I think it's fantastic.
With so there's like an argument that Destiny made against Alex. So Alex playing with fire has a one-way open relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have one, but you frame it a bit differently. You'll say that we're both open, but she doesn't do it, you do it.
Right.
But I was thinking of like I guess bringing up that argument to you and see how you would I guess wrestle with it or what your thoughts on it are. Don't you think though that there is an element of maybe like a low self-esteem element to this? Because you feel like why would you care if your partner had sex with other people if you are also having sex with other people? You know what I mean?
No, I
Like
don't understand the question.
so let me rephrase it. If it makes you uncomfortable to think that your partner is having sex with other partners, assuming you are having sex with other partners,
Okay.
don't you have lower self-esteem or like a insecurity, an insecurity there?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes, I understand now. Okay. Possibly, yes, because you're threatened. My wife is allowed to sleep with other men. She doesn't, and she doesn't want to. But she's allowed to. She has the option. And there's a number of reasons why I do that, because I don't like to work. But one of the reasons I'm able to do that is I'm not threatened by other men. I have been in relationships with MLTRs, not OLTR, but MLTRs, where I was, before my wife, I was dating women, where I was dating women who I really liked, multiple women, and I had babies too. And some of those women were fucking other guys. And I saw these men, or at least I saw descriptions of these men. I didn't really meet them. I think I met one or two. But these women would show me pictures and their Facebook page and their Instagram page and what these men were, what they was smelling. These were pussies. These were betas. Even if they were really good-looking betas, they were beta as fuck. They'd show me like the texts that they would send these women. They were needy and sappy and stupid and beta and pussy. And I'm like, this is my competition? These are the men I'm supposed to be jealous about? No. What are the odds that you're in a relationship, casual or not? Let's say it's relatively serious, and she hooks up with a guy who is 10 times more alpha than you. He has way more game than you. He makes way more money than you. He has ripped six-pack abs. He's got a 14-inch cock. What are the statistical probabilities of this? If you're already living this lifestyle, the odds are very low that anything like that would ever happen. And to my knowledge, to my memory, that has never happened. I cannot remember, unless I'm forgetting about something. I've been doing this for a long time. I track this in spreadsheets too. I cannot remember ever experiencing a time where a woman I was seeing hooked up with another guy, and the guy was more alpha than me. The guy was a threat to me. Like, oh shit, he's way better looking than me, and he's way more alpha, and he's way more confident, and way this, and way. No. So that taught me, why do I give a fuck? So yes, you're right. If you have a low self-esteem, it's going to be much harder to think that way. That's accurate. Right.
And then just like a final topic, and then I'll end it around there. So it's a lot shorter. So you and I, we both came from the pickup artist space, which eventually became the manosphere and stuff.
Right.
I guess it was a manosphere, whatever. But when I look at the manosphere now, it's not what I remember back in the day. Maybe I was more naive back in the day. I don't know. But that space is filled with weirdos now.
Yes. You're right.
Isn't it like, isn't it kind of weird? You know what I mean? Like, I have other thoughts on this, but just before I go, I just want to see if you agree on this or not.
I wouldn't define them as weirdos, although they're there. The manosphere tends to attract men who are angry and like to be angry. So there's a lot of those guys. And you're right, those guys weren't around 15 years ago. It was very rare to see those guys. Now it's the norm. You're right. This has to do with a lot of things. Cultural collapse in the Western world. The Western world's in a state of collapse. Men are getting worse. Men are getting more beta, more angry, more depressed, more drug addicted, lower testosterone. So this is just a reflection of society, and it's going to get much worse. There's many reasons I don't live in the United States anymore. I moved out of there. So yeah, but you're right. It appeals to men who are angry and want to be angry. A lot of those men are the black pill guys and the MGTOW guys, but there's a lot of guys who red pill like that. Yes. And they weren't, you're right. They weren't there when I got started in PUA. That was unusual. When I got started in PUA way back in 2008, it was about self-improvement. And you had guys getting mad at each other. You had arguments and you had cliques. They had a lot of that. You had a lot of infighting. But these were all guys who were trying to be better and knew we could all be better. And it was a very positive environment. Today, you're right. It's not so much that case anymore. There are pockets of the manosphere and red pill that are really good.
Yeah.
But you're right.
There's
You're right.
some red pillists who, yeah. There's some red pillists who I think are good, who give good advice.
Mhm.
But nowadays, you have to just hate women to grow in that space. Like,
Yes.
when I look at this stuff that blows up, even like, I'm not a fan of Andrew Tate. I recognize some of the good advice when Andrew Tate gives, but I just don't like the misogyny, I guess. I don't know if it makes me a leftist, but I just don't like that, like, need to like hate women.
Yeah, I've talked to guys who are like deeply seeped in the red pill environment, and they'll say things like, "Well, I'm scared to go on dates because if I go on a date with a girl, she'll try to take out my money." And these are guys who've had sex with like 2 girls. Like, bro, what the fuck? Will you stop? Will you get out of the red pill? I love Rolo, but stop watching Rolo videos for a while. Or guys who use the terminology, they start talking about hypergamy, or alpha widows, alpha. Caleb, aren't you concerned about alpha widows? Okay, if you're talking about, if the word alpha widows has come out of your keyboard more than twice in your life, you're too steeped in red pill. You need to get out in the real world and deal with women. I have been with a triple digit amount of women, not just had sex with, but dated in some form or fashion. And I would say the number of problematic women I've run into, I would put that number around 7%. 7-8% were like total, hardcore, bitches or gold diggers or feminists or whatever, all the things that guys bitch about. 7, 8, maybe 8%. So that's 92% were great. So that just hasn't been my experience. And a lot of guys talk about feminists and left-wing women and how problematic that is. I spent most of my time in this world. I moved out of the United States in 2021. But from 2008 to 2021, I lived in Portland, Oregon. It's one of the most left-wing cities in the entire Western world. And even there, I didn't have any problems. It was very rare. So this thing about women are going to do this, women are going to do that. It's more about men get themselves in scenarios where women hurt them. They promise monogamy. They assume women will never cheat. They assume women will never break up with them. They assume women will never divorce them. This is a true statistic for Red Pill. 70 to 80% of all divorces are filed by the female. So then guess what? Don't get fucking legally married, or if you do, God forbid, do something like I would talk about. We have a financial barrier. If you have the wolf chained up against the tree, the wolf can't bite you. But if you go up to the wolf and say, I understand wolves, so this wolf is not like the rest, and you stick your hand out, the wolf's going to bite your hand off. And you're going to say, goddamn wolves, all wolves are bad. No, you're an idiot.
So this is like a big disagreement I have with red pillers. So red pillers have become religious now. And but I think they don't actually understand it. So they'll say that because like for with Tate, Sneeko, and all these people becoming Muslims, they'll say that, oh, we became Muslims because Muslims get to have 4 wives and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up religious. I grew up Hindu, but I had like Hindu and Muslim mixed
Okay.
values or whatever.
Yep.
That wasn't at all the truth. That wasn't how it was. Like that's my Muslim friends growing up would hate this. It's not how it was. Like even guys, like women were always slut shamed, just the way things were. But
Mm-hmm.
men were also like whatever the male version of slut shaming is.
Yeah, I know.
Men were not supposed to be getting laid that much. It's just like a traditional man is not supposed to be fucking a lot, you know? Yeah.
Correct. I live in a Muslim country. I live in the United Arab Emirates, so I know this very well.
Yeah.
And I have people I know who have 4 wives. You're right. Muslims with 4 wives is a very small percentage of modern day Muslims. Most Muslims get monogamous and are very Westernish. So yes. Not sure what your question was. I would, if I had 4 wives, I'd shoot myself
I
in
was
the
just
fucking head.
ranting, sorry.
Oh, yours
I
ranting.
was just ranting.
Here's the thing on the 4 wives thing, because I get some people in my audience. Man, I could convert to Islam and get 4 wives. If I had 4 wives, I'd shoot myself in the fucking head. You have any idea how much work a wife is? Even under my models, it's work. You want 4 of those women living in your house? Talk about drama. And, and by the way, I know guys who have 4 wives. It's drama city. It's nonstop drama, arguments, problems. I'm overstating it a little, but this is not a low drama and low conflict lifestyle to have 4 wives living in your house. Are you insane? No. Now, if you like drama, do whatever you want. But if you have this fantasy about 4 wives, I hope you enjoy drama. I hope you enjoy conflict. I hope you enjoy arguing with women, because that's what you're going to do nonstop all day for the rest of your goddamn life. And I don't care how alpha you are, how rich you are. A lot of wealthy Muslim guys in Dubai where I live. They have all kinds of problems. Matter of fact, you know what? What is somewhat almost a norm in Dubai, this is not publicly spoken very much, but these Muslim guys, they have girlfriends. So they have 4 wives, plus they have 1 or 2 girlfriends that they pay for. They have their own apartments. And they go visit their girlfriends to get away from the 4 wives. Well, why would you need to get away if it's so great to have 4 wives? Even if the wives are hot. And sometimes the wives are hot, doesn't matter. You want a hot girl argue with you all day? No, I don't. So that's the same.
Yeah.
Unless you like
Again,
talking.
like,
There's a percentage of men who like that, but no.
yeah. Again, like, ever since I was 13 years old, I came to the conclusion that religions were fairy tales. But I'm not judging people who do whatever people want to do. Everyone's their own, everyone makes their own choice. But I
They
just
are fairy
always find it
tales.
was
It's
funny,
societal
like
programming. That's accurate. It's man-made.
yeah,
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
yeah. Because I remember as a kid, my parents told me like, yeah, no, you're going to grow out of his face. I still feel that way, you know? But
Yeah.
uh,
I went to a Catholic school and I felt that way. So I got in trouble. I actually got in big trouble for
yeah,
saying that there is no Jesus. Yeah. Yes. But you talk about how you're a more left-wing guy. A lot of left-wing
mm,
stuff is also fictional. Communism working and socialism. That's just as fictional as Jesus walked on water and came from God. Those are both fairy tales.
yeah, yeah. I agree. It's a long discussion for another time. But with so my last question to you, what's the future for Caleb Jones?
I have a long-term plan. It ends when I'm 54 years old. So when I'm 54, I'm gonna work very, very hard until I'm 54. I'm 51 now, so I've got what, 2.5, 3-ish years left. And at that point, I'm going to be financially in a place where I don't really need to worry about money. Not worry about money, but not use money as a benchmark for success. Right now, I work for money, and so I work very hard. And so the objective is when I hit 54, I hit the next phase of my life mission, where instead of working for money, I will work because I want to work, and I will use other things as metrics and benchmarks besides money to determine success for me. So in the next 3 years, I'm going to be working very hard. Lots of new companies, lots of new products, scaling my staff, all kinds of crazy shit. It's fun and it's also a little stressful at the same time. But when I hit 54, hopefully, I should be able to do it. I click over into a different model where I work less hours. I'll still work. Retirement is stupid. Retirement was invented by socialist Germans in the 1800s because they couldn't figure out their economies. So retirement is stupid. I will still work, but I'll work several hours a week when I feel like it. And again, the reason I work will be to express myself in the marketplace and do what I want instead of focusing on building business empires. That's my future.
Would you like to share any like links, websites, if anyone wants to see more about you, your social media, whatever?
Sure. So the best place to go if you're for the dating stuff is alphamale20.com. If you have any interest in my business, location dependent business, living international lifestyle, that is at calebjones.com. And at both those places, you can download, there's an Alpha Male 2.0 starter kit we can download for free. There's a few ebooks and videos. And then there's a location dependent starter kit at calebjones.com you can download for free. You'll see a banner on the top of the page. Either one of those. Best place.
Okay. Thank you very much, Caleb, for coming on. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much to everyone watching. Check out his links. If you like what you saw, please like the video. I would really appreciate it. Consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't. And yeah, so check out Caleb Jones' channel. So I'll put your links in the comment section, in the YouTube description, whatever, afterwards. And thank you very much, everybody. I hope you have a good rest of the day. Have a good day. Yeah.
Thanks,
Goodbye.
guys.